You know that humble little water meter on the side of your house? Well, it's at the very center of this massive worldwide technological upgrade. But here's the thing. Replacing it isn't just about swapping out a piece of hardware. Nope. It's about data, efficiency, a whole lot of money, and believe it or not, a surprising amount of controversy. So let's dive into this smart water revolution and see what's really at stake.
It's a simple question, right? But the answer is getting more and more complicated every single day. We're going to explore how we went from a simple spinning dial to a device that knows exactly when you shower, when you water your lawn, or when you run the dishwasher, and, more importantly, what that means for all of us.
All right, first things first. To really understand where we're going, we have to look at where we've been. Let's talk about the system that's been in place for, well, the better part of a century, the traditional mechanical water meter. It's a piece of tech we're all familiar with, but it comes with a long list of problems.
So the huge difference between the old and the new really just comes down to how they work. On one hand, you've got the mechanical meter. Think of it like a tiny turbine. Water flows through, it spins the turbine, and a bunch of gears count the rotations. Simple enough. But on the other hand, you have these new ultrasonic, or smart, meters. They use high-frequency sound waves to measure the flow, with zero moving parts. And that one little change, well, it has massive implications.
The old way is just, well, it's riddled with issues. All those moving parts in the mechanical meters, they wear down over time, which makes them less and less accurate. That means utilities are literally losing money on water they can't properly bill for. And then there's the whole process of sending a person out to manually read every single meter. It's expensive, it's slow, and it's super prone to human error. But the real kicker? There's no real-time data. A major leak could be gushing for a whole month before anyone even knows about it.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem with enforcement. I mean, in places with water restrictions like drought-prone California, cities had to rely on so-called water cops. These folks would literally drive around neighborhoods trying to catch people watering their lawns on the wrong day. It was incredibly inefficient and just a perfect example of how limited the old system really was.
So, in response to all of these headaches, utilities are turning to something called Advanced Metering Infrastructure, or AMI for short. This is the big solution, the technology designed to solve these exact problems.
Now, AMI isn't just the meter itself. You got to think of it as the whole network. The smart meter collects all this detailed usage data, and then it wirelessly beams that information back to the utility, creating this constant two-way conversation. That's the smart part of the smart meter.
Okay, so here's how it works in the real world. That ultrasonic meter measures your water use with incredible accuracy. Then, that data gets sent back to the utility, not once a month, but in near real time. This lets the system automatically flag anything weird, like a continuous flow that probably means there's a leak, and it can alert both you and the utility instantly. Pretty cool, right?
The technology sounds great in theory, but you know what they say, does it make sense financially? To find out, let's dig into a major case study from WSSC Water. They're a utility serving almost 2 million people near Washington, D.C. Let's see how the numbers actually stack up.
Let's start with the upfront cost, because, wow, it's massive. WSSC Water figured it would take $208 million to replace nearly 500,000 old meters and build out the entire network. For any public utility, that is a serious investment to have to justify.
But look at the projected return on that investment. The utility calculated that just by making the meters more accurate, they could finally capture revenue from water that was just flowing unbilled before. Over 20 years, that added up to a projected $588 million. That one benefit, all by itself, completely dwarfs the initial cost. And here's the final piece of the financial puzzle, the payback period. The analysis showed this entire $208 million project would pay for itself in just 11 years. After that, all the savings and extra revenue, that's pure gain. From a business perspective, the case is incredibly compelling.
So, it saves water, it's efficient, and it makes perfect financial sense. Case closed, right? Well, this is where our story gets complicated. Because with all this new data comes a whole new set of concerns.
Now, this quote is about electricity meters, but it perfectly captures the core fear for water too. The idea of living in a glass house where some third party can create this intimate portrait of your daily life, that's a powerful and kind of unsettling thought. And this raises a huge legal question. Who actually owns this data? The thing is, the law is incredibly murky here.
The Fourth Amendment protects you from unreasonable government searches, but what about data you willingly share with a utility company? There's this thing called the third-party doctrine that suggests you have very little expectation of privacy. And there's absolutely no consensus. A national standards body says the utility owns the data, while a state law down in Texas says the consumer owns it. It's a complete legal gray zone. Now, these privacy concerns, they aren't just theoretical what-ifs. Let's look at a case study from a city in California, documented by the University of Chicago, where the incredible promise of this new technology crashed headfirst into public opinion. The setup was perfect. You had a city dealing with a drought, and they had just installed smart meters across nearly 100,000 homes. So they decided to use this brand new real-time data to automatically enforce their outdoor watering rules. No more water cops driving around. And on paper, the results looked like a massive success. This new automated system led to a 17% drop in watering violations. The technology was working exactly as it was designed to. It was efficient, it was accurate, and it was helping to conserve a ton of water.
So this seems like the perfect outcome, doesn't it? A technological win that helps the environment. But there was another side to the data.
And this is the number that changed everything. While violations went down, calls to the city from angry residents complaining about the fines, about the new system, they skyrocketed by more than 1,000%. People felt like they were being watched and automatically punished by this impersonal machine. The result was decisive. The political backlash was so intense that the city completely shut down the program. So the technology, a success, but the implementation, a total political failure. It just goes to show having the smartest tech in the world doesn't matter one bit if you don't have public trust and buy-in. This kind of backlash is often fueled by some pretty common concerns, so let's just break them down really quickly. On health, the RF energy these things put out is far, far below the levels you get from a cell phone. On accuracy, they're rigorously tested and are actually more accurate than the old meters. And critically, on privacy, the meters measure how much water you use, not how you use it. The data shows a flow of 2 gallons, but it has no way of knowing if that was a toilet flush, a short shower, or you filling up a watering can. And that distinction is absolutely key. So where does this all leave us? We've got this technology with clear, measurable benefits. But at the same time, it touches on these really sensitive issues of privacy and public trust that can derail even the most well-intentioned projects. Ultimately, the smart water revolution isn't a technology problem, it's a human one. The meters work, the data is accurate, the potential for savings is real. The true test isn't in our pipes, it's in our politics. And as more and more of our lives become measurable, the biggest question we face is this: what are we willing to trade for a smarter world?